I am shocked to learn that people are talking about prepping on this channel.
Right?
Welcome to the Lock and Load Show. Yes. So I hope people liked my 3 hurricane preps videos that I put out. The water distillation, the bug out roll, and some of the food preps. My food prep would be controversial, but I think Dan will left a comment. I know I need to get into vacuum sealing and Mylar bags and that stuff for my 20-pound bag of rice. It hasn't set up for long-term food storage, but I haven't really had that 20-pound bag of rice for very long yet. You can freeze it. A lot of people freeze their white rice. White rice lasts longer than brown rice. That's all I know. I bought a 20-pound bag of it. I'm going to have to go and do some research on what are the best types of vacuum sealers for food. I know that some people look down on food saver vacuum sealers. I don't know anything about it, so I'll do some research and try and make some informed decisions on that. But for now, let's just say I have a 20-pound bag of rice in the bag that it came in, and eventually I'll figure out a better long-term storage, the way to deal with it. I have to go also look through mouse toes stuff and figure out how to use that Tony C's, for lack of a better New Orleans pronunciation of the Creole spices. She's got a lot of great cooking videos on her channel, so you can check that out, mouse toes. And anyway, I didn't put any mac and cheese just because there wasn't or ramen, because there just wasn't a lot of room on that little table. But I just put out a small amount of the food that I have set back. I have a lot more food than I showed on that table, but set back. So I wanted to talk a little bit about today about 556 by 45 rounds. This is an Aguila, box of Aguila. I got a scale, and I've just been doing some measurements. This is my scale I use for silver. Measure silver. It's in sets of troy ounces right now. So this means I'm a coin collector, not a drug dealer. Okay, so law enforcement, I collect coins. I don't do drugs or deal or anything. So I was just weighing all this, a few different types of ammo, and because weight was one consideration. Patrick is in Texas, and you do some reloading, right? Do you reload just 223 or 556 or 7.62 by 39 at all? Or?
Well, yeah, I reload 223, and you can reload 556 the same way. The bullet will fit in the shell. It's just you have a little less case capacity because of thicker walls on the brass. And I also reload for 308, so 7.62 by 51.
Yeah, that's a different size casing.
Oh yeah, it's much larger. So,
and what are some common rifles that use that set by the 7.62 by 51?
Oh gosh, Remington 700.
Is that what the Mosin Nagant used?
No, that's 7.62 by 54 R.
54 R, okay. Rimfire.
Yep, it's a rimmed cartridge.
Yeah, so the R always stands for rimfire. Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of 308 rifles. I mean, that's AR-10s, bolt actions, tons.
So I do have a trivia question, a gun trivia question. It's only slightly related to movies. It's like let's see. I'm going to see if anybody in gun channels or any of the audience knows the answer to this one. So in the movie Unforgiven, starring Clint Eastwood and Gene Hackman's character explains in the jail to the writer E.W. Beauchamp that when he's explaining that he was in the Blue Bottle Saloon when English Bob shot two-gun Corky Corcoran, and he said that. Let's see, trying to remember the dialogue. Basically, he said that first Corky Corcoran pulled out a gun and he pulled it out too quick and he missed because he was in a rush. And then English Bob missed, and then so Corky Corcoran does it right. He takes his time, he aims at English Bob, and he has him dead to rights, and then bam, the Colt Walker blew up in his hand. And the dialogue in the film says, which was Gene Hackman says, which was a failing common to the model. So the trivia question is, why did the Colt Walker actually blow up in people's hands sometimes? And it wasn't what Gene Hackman said in the movie. So this is a Colt Walker, black powder. I think they were made in the 1840s. But so why did the Colt Walker blow up in people's hands? The Colt did get some of those back in the factory because they did blow up, but it wasn't really a failing of the model. So why did it blow up? I was wondering if anybody out there knew that.
Too much powder?
Can you be more specific?
Using too much black powder.
Well, it was black powder. Okay. Can you be more specific than that?
Maybe the well, I know on modern.
Why was there too much black powder?
Because they didn't measure it. They poured too much in. I don't know.
Can you be more specific? Why didn't they not measure it?
Because they didn't have the powder measurer.
There's a more
Use the wrong type of powder.
No, you're hitting everywhere but the target when you put it to you like that.
Right, obviously.
Right. It wasn't a cartridge. It's a black powder. It wasn't a chain fire.
Right. But you had to pour powder into each chamber, and then stuff the ball in. So if you put too much,
right. But why would people put too much powder in?
See if they get the ball to come out and go faster, or they
they were mostly originally issued to the Army. Horse. Yeah. Basically, the Colt Walker they wanted to make a pistol that was so big that you could either shoot a horse and kill a horse with it, or if you couldn't do it with a bullet, you could use the pistol and just hit the horse in the head. But that's not why it I mean, okay. I'm going to give like a few more minutes just to let that particular question sink into people's minds. Why was the powder sometimes? Why were the chambers overcharged sometimes? That was part of the problem, but there was a reason that the chambers got overcharged. I mean, besides the fact that was like the new technology at the time, a revolver was like a new thing at the time. So.
They were trying to load it on horseback.
Oh,
I don't know.
Why were the why were the chambers in the cylinder overloaded, overcharged? Why? I think that question is pretty straight. I mean, because you narrowed it down to, I'll say, yeah, the Walkers blew up because they were overcharged with too much black powder. But why?
They were trying to shoot a horse, kill a buffalo. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
All right, let me give you a hint. Somebody's last charge.
Custer?
No. Somebody's charge, not last charge. Somebody's charge is a hint.
Pickett's charge? That was during
Okay. Now keep going. Pickett. Keep going. I'm gonna look on gun channels.
I'm still lost, but
Okay.
I don't
Hi,
know.
Oily, Steve D out there. I'm gonna just check the gun channel side. Probably nobody's there, but oh, Oily Prepper's there. I'm gonna give you a link. There's a link in the gunchannels.com/HVS if you want to join in. So the answer, Nano, is they used to have instead of round bullets, round balls, they used to have picket bullets, which were these pointy bullets. And so the problem was when they're flat on one side and pointed towards the other, and you're supposed to ram the bullet into the chamber on the cylinder. But the problem was they would sometimes get rammed in upside down because it's easier. It's because obviously it's hard to get the pointed side of the bullet to face up and stay faced up when you're ramming it down. I mean, have you seen that the Pickett's bullets are these pointy bullets that look like a triangle, and they're supposed to load it in with the pointy end forward. So if they ram it upside down, then there's more room in the chamber for more powder than there would be if it was loaded with the bullet with a pointy side pointed the way it was supposed to go. So basically the reason the Walker blew up is because the bullets were loaded in upside down. Okay. And again, this was all new technology at the time. Revolvers were new, and they weren't using round balls. They were using these Pickett bullets, which were these pointy triangle things. And because there wasn't any instruction manual or anything with it, they would just pour in some powder and then shove in the bullet, and it's easier to get it loaded flat if the flat end is, because you have a ram, right? And the powder, the flat end it's easier to ram a flat end with the ramrod than or whatever you call the thing that it's attached to, the ram. I guess it's a ramrod. I don't know what else they called it, but then it is because to get the pointy end to stay up, pointed forward, it's very difficult. But if you did that, then there was a flat end, and there wasn't as much room for powder, right? But if you put the flat end facing the wrong way, then there's a lot more room for powder. So that's why they blew up. They were made of iron, but they overcharged it because they were using Pickett's bullets. So I hope that makes sense. That was a gun trivia question, and we usually don't do that on the Lock and Load show, but
now I'm gonna have to look at the Pickett bullet because I know they had the mini ball, which the mini or the Minier ball.
Minier ball, yeah.
Some people pronounce it, which is a conical shaped bullet with the the base is conical shaped, but it looks like it's a rounded aerodynamic projectile that they used. I didn't know. I'm gonna have to look the Pickett bullet up and look that up and see.
Yeah, well, I thought it was a pretty interesting piece of trivia that some gun channel people might didn't know about. Hi, Oily, you got your internet up?
Yeah. How are you doing?
Alive and kicking. I mean, we still have a flash flood warning, even though it's blue sky over here. But the other side of the island is a whole nother thing.
Did you get much water?
Well, there was like one night where it was like really lightning and thunder. Like it lit up the night sky to like daylight almost. And the thunder shook the ground. But that was when the hurricane, I think, was the closest, about 100 miles offshore, or maybe it was the day after, and it was started to trail off. But basically the other side of the island got just tons of rain dumped on it, but the Kona side is the dry side, and we really didn't have. I mean, most of the hurricane I was out by the pool, you know. It was
wow.
Yeah, I mean, there was most of it was gray skies, but it was still, you could go out to the pool and it was fine. for most of it. I mean, there was like one night where it rained a lot for a couple hours in the thunder. So I guess the real threat to Hawaii from hurricanes is if one of them takes out the fuel, the gasoline, the oil refineries, because then we won't get any gasoline because they just ship in the crude oil and they refine it on Oahu, and there's only 2 refineries.
Oh.
So if those ever go down, it'll be a mess because whatever the ships bring in, they have to be delivered to the distribution places and stores by gas-powered trucks. So
Right.
if there's no gas, because the refineries ever get taken out. I mean, the military stores fuel, but they don't store gasoline. I mean, the military is ready on all the military bases with extra fuel, but they don't. That's crude. That they don't store, like they don't have their own refinery, so they rely on the 2 that are on Oahu. So that was like the main concern if the hurricane were to hit Oahu, but it didn't. These are the dangerous kinds of hurricanes, though, is when they go south of the island and then get pushed back north. Because if they head straight for Kilauea or Mauna Loa, then they always get diverted one way or the other, and they just almost never hit the island because the wind shear tears them apart. But this one went south, and it just did like if it had done what Aniki did and managed to make it onto land, then that would have been a pretty bad disaster. But it would have missed. Basically, I think the other islands like Maui and Kauai or Oahu are more at risk than the Kona side is. Kona is just the dry side of the island, and because we're at a lower elevation, it's the hydrology happens and the flooding on the other sides. For everybody who saw the Wailuku pictures, the Wailuku River, that was like not a river you want to fall into.
No, definitely not.
So,
well, I'm glad you're okay. I feel bad for the people that have been put through it, but I'm glad you're all right.
Well, it'll take more than a Category 5 hurricane to take me out. I mean, but I mean, I could stand naked on the shoreline, and it'd just take a lot more than that to take me out. All right. So, how have you been, Oily? I just, we talked on the phone once, and I know a lot of people were just wondering about you because, you haven't been doing your show because I guess your internet just sucks.
Yeah, between the internet and just not feeling great, but I do. It happens every year like that. I end up going good for a while, and then it just hits me hard and takes forever to recoup. So.
Well, at least we're all still here to have fun and talk about prepping and freedom, guns, and the truth until dawn, and God knows what else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you stayed in touch with any of the other people that used to be on your show when you were running it?
Oh yeah, I check in with most everybody, or they check in with me, or back and forth. So
usually on Facebook, or Facebook Facebook easier on the internet or something?
Yeah, it's a little easier. The internet's not too bad unless I'm having to go on a live stream, and it seems to use up a lot of my bandwidth or whatever. So I don't have much on bandwidth. I'm on 1 bar.
So yeah, I was getting your network connection is insufficient or something. That's just earlier in this chat or in the pre-chat, but who knows? Who knows? It's the gods of the internet. So anyway, I was going to ask you, what about you? Does your family have a hunting rifle, or like an AR or an AK or something that shoots either the rounds that we were talking about today?
I don't know what we have hunting rifles, but we don't have an AR-15. We have an HMR 17. We have, I don't know what else Joe has in there. He actually won a hunting rifle at our local school last year or the year before, because we still have a school that believes in all of that, and so we have a sort of like a Halloween carnival every year, and the kids, each class from 7th grade up to senior, gets to pick an item that they sell chances on, and my husband ended up winning a rifle. So
that's really nice.
Yeah. So yeah, we have several different types of guns in our gun safe. So.
Okay, well maybe you can help me pick out a good food vacuum sealer for sealing Mylar bags or something, or because I still need to do some research on that stuff.
Well, I'll tell you, I do the food saver for stuff that I'm freezing or stuff that I'm going to use fairly soon. If it's something that's going to be stored more long term, I use Mylar bags and a hair straightener. And I suck out the air with the food saver, and then I use the Mylar bag I use the hair straightener to seal the bag.
I don't have a hair straightener.
Well, all you got to do, you can probably find one at a thrift store. They're not expensive. They're cheaper than those sealers that you buy.
I mean, you know me, I go onto Amazon and I'll find something and I'll buy it. I mean, that's usually how I do stuff.
Well, a hair straightener works great, but yeah, you can look at Mylar bag sealers or bag sealers and see what they have. But what I understand is that the vacuum sealers don't work real well on actually sealing those Mylar bags. They tend to come apart easier than if you use like a real Mylar bag sealer or a hair straightener.
Okay, well, I'll just start watching YouTube videos on it, and eventually I'll, if I spend enough days researching it, I'll come up with the best reasonably priced option, I guess.
And whenever you're getting grains, or you're going to store bulk in grains or anything that might get like the weevil bugs or things like that in it, freeze it first for about 5 days at least, and then pull it out, and then start divvying it out into your individual bags or whatever.
What was really interesting is when I watched the I think I mentioned this on a different show, but when I recently got the DVD, the Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks DVD, The Pacific, and when the Marines landed on Guadalcanal, they didn't get all the supplies on shore before the ships had to pull out due to the Japanese Navy action, but they had brought their own like dehydrated potatoes, and they captured some Japanese rice. And so when the cooks finally set up some kind of cooking tent and so they could make chow, the Japanese rice had weevils in it, lots of them. So they would cook it anyway. And one Marine looked at it and was going to say something to complain, and the cook said, "Just think of it as protein."
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought of it, okay, now technically from a prepping point, he's right. I've seen enough dual survival shows where people eat bugs and shit to know that, okay, that is protein. He's right, but nobody really likes to look at that shit in their food when they're eating.
And it's not just the protein, it's the fact that they're having their feces all up in that food and stuff too. So it's a little bit rough. Hang on just a second. I'm going to say goodnight to my husband. Hold on.
Okay. We'll get back to 556 versus 7.62 in a minute, guys. Don't worry. Let's see.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
Hallelujah. Well, so no tornado watches or anything in Oklahoma anytime?
Nah, I wish we had some storms big enough that we'd have some tornado watches in our part. We haven't had much rain at all, so it's getting pretty.
You're a minister of prepping, praying for that calamity to befall your state, right?
I'm not praying for tornadoes, but I'm praying for big enough storms that will bring a lot of rain.
Yeah, I could. Is it? How dry is it there right now?
It's we're still in drought. We had gotten a little bit of rain, probably about a month and a half back, but then it just kind of started drying back out again. So we really need it desperately.
Yeah, well, just to illustrate the whole thing with microclimates and then how one part of the Big Island can be just completely different than the other part. In Kona, we got like a half an inch of rain during the storm, and on the way around the Wailuku River on the Hilo side, they got like over 4 feet of rain in like 2 days or something.
It's crazy. Well, what's interesting about our area is we usually fall the dry line usually falls either just a little to the east or a little to the west of us. So what ends up happening is we're either getting hammered by rain, which is very rarely, or it starts just east of us, like literally just east of us, which is really frustrating when we're needing the rain. But at the same time, it's nice that we haven't had as many issues with tornadoes this year. So that's good. We haven't been down to the cellar once, and that's unusual for our part.
So you have more room for your preps, you were telling me, because one of your kids moved out finally, and so you get to reorganize all your preps?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so nice having that space. I mean, it's not a huge room, but it's still very helpful. I have shelves in there and have everything kind of organized, all my lanterns and candles and lighting gear up on one shelf and my extra blankets and bedding and stuff like that in big cubbies on another top shelf. And then I have one whole shelf that's mainly emergency food. And I mean, these are large industrial shelves. So yeah, it really helps out a bunch. I can't complain. And then I have some overflow canned goods and stuff in there, and stuff that I buy in bulk whenever I catch it on sale. So yeah.
Okay, the panel links are on the Gun Channel side. If anybody wants a panel link, hop on there.
Yeah.
Gunchannels.com.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, can I just get this out? Gunchannels.com/HVS. That's where all the panel links are. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, there's a delay. So
okay.
I'll start talking and then it'll start sounding at your end about the time you're fixing to talk. So, but I'm not on YouTube page because I can't have that pulled up and it'll eat up the bandwidth. So if anybody's over there saying anything to me, I'm not ignoring you. I just can't.
BC Trucker says hi. BC Truck Rebuild, Repair, and Repurpose says hi. Skywarp says hi. Just Daniel's over there.
Good to hear from you guys. Haven't seen y'all in a while.
Yeah, it's. I miss your Thursday shows, but I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, I may not just have anything scheduled, but with winter coming on and stuff, I probably will start doing some random chats on Thursdays or something. But I don't know that I'll just make it a standing thing, you know. But I miss everybody and want to catch up better with everybody. So Frank's been busy, Oklahoma Prepper. He's been working on his tiny house, so he's been busy.
I've been watching some of his videos.
Yeah, so I know he's been doing that. So keeping busy that way, I guess. And then me and my niece, or my nephew's wife, so she's my niece, we're fixing to start making homemade soap, with lye, you know. Some that is more just plain, and then some that is going to be super fancy soaps that look like food, like cupcakes and pie and stuff like that. So anyway,
yeah, I got my dad some gunpowder soap for his birthday. He had never seen. Strike Industry makes it, and but I didn't know you could make soap with gunpowder. So I bought him some as a novelty. So
yeah. Made it with gunpowder. I'll have to see about recipes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was plant based, but they also use gunpowder. Strike Industries is who sells it. So I don't know what their exact formula is, but it looked, from what I could tell, like it was pretty. It was plant based and not like fat based, I guess, animal based. So
did you just buy a bar of
yeah,
it, or what?
Yeah, I bought them a bar of them.
Do you mind me asking how expensive it was?
I think it was like $6 or $7.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't unreasonable, and my dad is impossible to buy anything for. I mean, he's got everything that he wants, and if he wants something, he'll go online and buy it himself. So it's like really hard to buy stuff for. So, but gunpowder soap, it seemed to work.
It's just interesting, like a novelty gift then.
Yeah, gunpowder soap seemed to fit the bill. I mean, I already got him a cleaning kit for his guns, and some grips for one of his pistols. So, yeah, gunpowder soap. It was when I saw it, it's like, oh, he'll like that, and it just made buying for that particular event easy and inexpensive at the boot. And he liked it. And he liked it, so, which is just as important. And
that's even better.
Yeah, and I mean, he's my dad's 83, and he's still going strong. He just visited his cardiologist, and he said, "Whatever you're doing, keep it up," because all the numbers look good. And obviously, we just we'll note the passing of John McCain at 81 from brain cancer, and so I guess we only have so much time on this planet, so it's just I got to share one more happy birthday vibe with my dad for his birthday, and we talked about just father-son stuff and had a good time on the phone. Anyway, they're gonna take a cruise out to Hawaii at the end of the year, so I'll get to see my folks. I'll have to drive over to Hilo and meet them at the Hilo. I hope they have the port and the Hilo all fixed up by December, because it looks like everything was completely trashed on the road along the bayfront there. It looks like it's still underwater from what I could tell. But yeah, I mean, I bet the House of Pancakes is flooded out too. Ken's House of Pancakes in Hilo is all flooded out. One of the waiters there actually crashed into my car, but anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a long.
How long does it take to take a cruise from California to? From Long Beach.
From Long Beach, California, the port, and I don't know, either San Pedro or Long Beach to I don't know how many days it'll take them, but I mean, just being on a cruise ship, I mean, as long as everything's working and the systems don't fail, it's pretty much a nice vacation. And I'll get to see him. And I don't know. I just hope. I mean, let's see. It's right now. It's the end of August, so hopefully by December they'll have fixed up the bayfront, or at least it won't be underwater. It looks like a mess right now. Anyway, so what did you think of my 3 videos? My whole hurricane preps video.
I saw your first 2, but I guess I think I missed your third one, because I don't remember seeing. And that one was on the food, wasn't it? Because I think I just saw it a while ago, and I had just saw it whenever I was on the YouTube site a while ago before I asked you to send me the link, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't think I saw that one. I saw the water one, I saw the bug out bag one, but.
What'd you think of those 2 then, the ones that you saw?
I thought they were pretty good. The water one, of course, you already mentioned the fact that if the electric's out, you're going to either have to use a generator or find somebody to help you out with that. But you know, that's
well,
pretty
I can't put a generator inside my condo. I mean, first of all, I think if I was to use it inside the condo, I'd get carbon monoxide poisoning. But
well, yeah.
And it's a fire hazard to store that, you know, a gasoline or what that's the fuel would be a fire hazard in it. It would be against the homeowners' bylaws and rules for sure.
Right. Well, right. I know, but
so I was thinking about solar, but as some people may know, I've been trying to get a house and sell the condo, but it just hasn't happened yet. So I still think the real estate market is generally in a bubble, but who knows? The economy is crazy. It seems to be going okay, but it could all things can change overnight. Something happens, but I guess Trump's doing as good a job as he can. But it's a good thing that the Democrats aren't in charge, because they would have just trashed everything. we'd be in bad shape.
How's your cryptocurrency stuff going?
Oh, wait, somebody had to ask me that. I have a sound effect for Bitcoin, actually, now. Wait, play my Bitcoin sound effect. Take me a minute. Let's see. Oh, my Bitcoin sound effect. Did somebody say Bitcoin? Sound effect. So yeah, it's basically it is what it is. I'm just waiting for like everybody else to see what happens to the banking system. And to just either give up the ghost and the debt bubble to pop, or the real estate bubble to pop. It'll be worth what it's worth when it's just like another prep. You can consider it a prep to have some cryptocurrencies. I do, but I don't like spend too much time on it. I'm a little miffed, but because the lifetime contracts that I have are because of the mining difficulty has been increasing lately, and the value of Bitcoin has been going down. So they're temporarily not worth anything, and you can upgrade them to a different kind of mining. But it's like, I don't know. I still have some Ethereum and Dash mining, but I have I have plenty of cryptos for more than I need, and it's just a question of, will they actually at some point be worth a significant amount of buying power? I don't know. I also have a bunch of silver stashed away, and it's the same thing. The price manipulation of silver. You can follow it, but there's certain things that are out of your control. And if some point silver becomes worth a lot more than it is right now, I'll be happy. And if it isn't, it'll just sit in a cupboard, until it is.
Well, I don't know if it's true or not, but did California just require that all homes be carbon powered free? So basically requiring solar or whatever for.
I don't know. I mean, I think Sacramento, I saw an ad for Verizon of having smart asphalt streets or something. I was like, okay, so that sounds like a California thing. And I mean, they banned straws. They're banning. It's like California is just, the problem with California is that it's broke, and so whatever they are going to do, they're going to have to raise taxes more. And since my folks own property there, that kind of concerns me.
The reason why I'm asking that is, doesn't the solar panels have silver in them?
Oh yeah.
And if a bunch of people buy more solar, then silver price is going to go up, I'm sure.
Not really. The silver price is not set by supply and demand. There is no price discovery. It's set by, ever since 1850, the prices have been rigged one way or another. Started with the Opium War between the England and China, the Opium War, and but the prices of silver has been rigged since 1850. It's not, there's no price discovery, so supply and demand has no effect until like Apple can't find enough silver for its iPhones. At some point, if the price gets manipulated down so far that just there won't be any supply that can actually be delivered at the prices that have been rigged, then that might have an impact. But really, the only thing that will change the prices of silver is the banking system to freezing up. And because then there can't be any rigging. Like, so when the COMEX fails, that's when metals can be freely traded, because they're not freely traded. It's all a paper rigged game. That what's happening is JP Morgan actually has a hoard of like 800 million ounces of physical silver. They have like almost eliminated their paper short, but other people, other banks and companies are like Noble Bank or Deutsche Bank are manipulating the prices of metals down. So when it's in a certain sense what it feels like, because we're so used to silver not being, worth anything, that it feels like what we're waiting for is for the sun to rise in the west and set in the east. That's what it feels like. But that's why they're rigging the market. That's why. The Hunt brothers had got arrested for trying to corner the silver market for having they amassed 100 million ounces of physical silver, and they were trying to corner the market, and they were arrested. JP Morgan right now has 800 million ounces of real silver, and they haven't been arrested because they run the fucking COMEX. So it's just a game of rigging, and it's the numbers you see there's no price discovery, so supply and demand doesn't really have anything to do with it at the moment. And the only thing that matters is if the COMEX fails and the banking system freezes up. That's the only thing that's when other forms of non-fiat currency will increase in value and actually be used as a currency, as a real use case. But I'm not really telling people they should have crypto or silver. It could be a long ass wait. Those banks are not going away. Even if all the banks are insolvent, the governments have an interest in keeping them up. The central banking systems have an interest in keeping up. Nobody wants the whole grid to go down. I don't want the grid to go down just because I have cryptos. I don't want to see how many people will get killed, so my silver and cryptos. But it won't be in my control. So it's just being prepared for different options. That's why some people like silver and gold. Some people, are into collecting silver and gold coins and bars and stuff, and that's okay. And some people like having some cryptos. And you don't have to worry about it or get all stressed out, or it's like my Bitcoin cloud mining contracts are temporarily not paying out for the last 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh, phooey. I was used to getting paid out some Dash every day, but I still get paid out, I think, once a month from my Ethereum mining and from my Dash mining. But it's not that much. It's really not that much. But I've got 2,557 gigabyte coins. I don't know if that'll be worth something. But I'm not counting on it. I don't need it to be, but it'd be nice if it turned into some kind of incredible source of generational wealth. But who knows? Yeah. I've got it's just a hedge against troubled times. It's like some people like to have lots of ammo. Some people like lots of other preps. Some people like, you know, having their food saver. Some people do lots of canning. I try and be a well-rounded prepper, but it's hard to do everything. You know, the economic stuff, I mean, I don't have a vacuum sealer yet. Like I said, so I have stuff I have to work on, but for me, prepping has always been a hobby. And that's kind of be useful if, you know, you have a Category 5 hurricane headed your way. All of a sudden, it becomes a little more useful. And there was literally, somebody was telling me that they were waiting for 2 hours by a store up in Kainuu, which is a town about 5 miles south of here, uphill, and they were waiting for like 2 hours in a line just to buy like one bottle of water. And there was like people waiting, a 2 hour long line just to buy one bottle of water. Because they were out at Costco. There's no water. They're out at Walmart. There's no bottled water left anywhere in any of the stores. That was gone, like, you know, several days before the hurricane got here, and there was no bottled water in Oahu at any of the Costco stores there. So yeah, why are people waiting for 2 hours in a line for one bottle of water? Because they didn't look in their phone book, which it says to prepare for hurricanes in there. I mean, so why wouldn't you? I mean, be prepared. It's just some people don't think about it, I guess, and I don't like dwell on it. But yeah, it's like for me, I try and make it fun. I've always tried to make prepping fun, and so I don't. That's why there's still some holes in my prep, some stuff that I don't have. But over time, all the holes get filled in.
Well, yeah, I don't think anybody ever says, okay, I'm fully prepped. I'm ready. You know, I think there's always, I try to get a little bit in each category, you know, and then kind of make the full circle again and get a little bit more and make the full circle again, you know. That's about, or if you see a really good sale on something that fits one of your categories and
oh, yeah, waiting for sales is a really good idea. Waiting for sales for stuff. Why pay full price if waiting a little while? You know, I promise you, the day people lined up for 2 hours for one bottle of water paid more than the full price for whatever they were charging. If they didn't drop dead in line waiting for their water, I mean.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, I mean, and there are stories of, like, in India when they demonetized the rupee and people had to wait in line at banks for to turn in their whatever rupiah they had to deposit it, and they can only turn in so much money that people died waiting in line to do that. So, I mean, and people didn't want to help these people that were dying, because if they did go to help him, then they would lose their spot in line. And we're talking about the maximum amount that they could be deposited of cash that before it was demonetized was like $30. So, or it was like people would die and wouldn't help somebody from dying because they would lose $30, which is a lot in, I guess, India. I mean, but
yeah,
that's the kind of shit that happens.
Yeah, that's why I prep. I don't want to have to go out and be a part of the craziness. Be in the middle of the craziness, I'll put it that way. I want to know that if something goes out, you know, I'm set. I may not have exactly what I want, exactly what I need, but I'm going to have something that will work for the most part. So.
Well, I didn't have it in my food video, but I will have mac and cheese if the.
Well, yeah. You gotta have mac and cheese to plunge it to mouse toes, right?
Well, I think Wheat Tree Bonsai left a comment that say, I saw. I'm glad that you did put any blue boxes out. And it's like, well, it's not that I didn't have them. It's just I didn't want to dig them out.
Exactly. And, you know, we're learning to live on a much tighter budget because my husband was doing the trucking, and it just wasn't going well. By the time we put pen to paper, it looked like he was bringing in a lot of money, but a lot of it was having to go back out into fuel and stuff like that. So we sold the semi, and he started working for the county because he's physically getting where he's having a hard time. I mean, he still does great, but there's times when he really has a hard time. So he decided he didn't want to go back into the oil field.
How old is Joe?
He's 48.
Oh, he's a young puppy.
Yeah, it seems like he's a young puppy, but he has the arthritis and stuff, so he has the neck and the structure of about a 70-year-old or better. his joints and stuff. So yeah, he has a lot of issues, and so he needed something that wasn't going to be quite as physically demanding, and he's not on call. So this way he does his normal work week, which is a 4-day a week 12-hour days, and then 10-hour days, and then he comes home and works in his shop in the evenings and on the weekends to make a little extra money. Or he works around here working on stuff that needs to be done, or helps other people out to make a little extra money. But that way he has the option to say no, and he's not on call. Unless there would be a major disaster where he'd need to go out and help in the evening or on the weekend or something. He's got those free, so that makes it nice. But our budget is cut in half.
Yikes.
So, yeah. So that has really put a damper on me on getting preps and stuff. And so I'm having to really tighten up the budget a lot. So.
Dollar store, here you come, right?
Yeah. That's a challenge and stuff, which is kind of why we're going to start making the soaps and stuff to try to bring in a little extra money. But
I hope
also
that works.
just to kind of, yeah, I hope so too. I don't know. It may and it may not. There's a lot of people doing it, but we only have one local competitor in this area, and she doesn't really do like the fancy stuff. So I think I can do basically kind of the stuff like she's doing, which is more of the basics, and also do the fancy and kind of fill in that gap.
Make some gunpowder soap. I'm sure you'll clean up with soap.
Oh, yeah. Would you like some gunpowder soap with a little handgun embed on the top of it? That looks pretty cool.
I needed to Tavor soap impression or a Glock. Yeah, that would be fun.
We'll have to see what we can come up with. But, yeah. And we're going to do things like men's shave gel, men's shaving powder that they can use to use the brush and make it foam.
Yeah, I actually started using that Walmart brand, and it's pretty good. The Equate stuff, it's better than the Edge. I used to use Edge shaving gel for just my Turbo Mach 3 Turbo razor, but the Walmart brand's better. It's cheaper and it's better, and so it foams up better. It's just, I like it. And I think that's made in Canada. So I don't know if that means the price is going up with the whole thing with Canada. Who knows? I think Trump and Mexico just reached some kind of agreement. I guess we'll find out about it more over the next few days, but the market went up today because of that. But the market goes up because these numbers that we're watching are manipulated, and they happen to be going in the right direction right now, but it can all change on a dime in a New York minute.
Patrick, how have you been? Haven't seen you in a while. You still here?
Oh, yeah. Well, been doing good. Just working, working.
Oh boy, fun.
Yeah, nothing new.
you know, I was seeing the weather. I was watching the Weather Channel during the hurricane, and they were saying that the places that always get hit with hurricanes are Texas and Hawaii.
Yeah, and Florida.
Well, the most of them with the most rainfall from hurricanes, it's Texas and Hawaii, not Florida.
Well,
Isn't
yeah,
that
yeah.
crazy?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
get
you
them
would-
right at the Gulf, and they come up and hit Houston, Galveston, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, New Orleans, and all that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
most
they-
people think Florida when they think of
I thought-
hurricanes, not Texas, but Texas
I
and
thought-
Hawaii.
I thought that over on your side, it was called monsoons. Is it not monsoons? Does it have to be further south to be a monsoon, or what?
It's cyclones at a certain. It's not the latitude. I think it's the time. A certain time zone. I'm not sure. I saw that they explained this once on the Weather Channel, but I forgot. Sorry. I think it's a time zone.
I thought that in the Atlantic it was called one, in the Pacific it was called another. So I didn't.
Well,
like,
it depends
Pacific
what part of
was.
the Pacific. The Pacific's a pretty damn big ocean, so.
Well, yeah.
So we have multiple time zones, and the one time zones closer to Asia, they're called cyclones or something. I don't know, or monsoons.
Typhoon. Yeah.
Typhoons, monsoons,
Well,
cyclones. It's
Doesn't one go clockwise and the other one go counterclockwise?
that's based on which side of the equator it's on, I think. Right?
Well,
Or am
that's what
wrong
I
about
thought.
that? Yeah, but that doesn't matter. The Atlantic and Pacific. I mean, some parts of the Atlantic are on the north side of the equator, and some parts of the Atlantic and Pacific are on the
Well,
south
that's
side.
what I was saying. Does it have to do with the Atlantic, Pacific, or does it have to do
Equator.
with equator?
Equator. Yeah, the toilet bowl spins one way on the north of the equator and the other way south.
yeah, that's what I always remembered.
Ain't that special? So romantical, you know. Hey, baby, come in here and look at this. Look, the toilet bowl goes backwards.
Yeah, people would just get confused and wander out of their house in the wrong direction if they watch the toilet bowl spin in the wrong direction. I mean, they'll get lost.
Oh, God. Funny.
So it's like it was funny when somebody was complaining that all I talk about is prepping and on my channel, and it's like, well, somebody's complaining about me talking about prepping like less than 24 hours before we get hit with a Category 5 hurricane. And
No kidding.
I was like, really? You don't want to complain about me talking about prepping the day before we get hit with a Cat 5 hurricane? I mean, did you see the pictures from outer space of the thing before it hit? It was like a perfectly shaped, cyclone or hurricane with the center. Yeah, whatever. You could see the center eye perfectly. It was like perfectly shaped and everything. And from the space station, it was like, it looked like a monster. But
I'm glad it didn't hit, directly on land. I mean, that would have been.
Yeah, basically, my understanding is that the trade wind pushed the bottom part of the hurricane west, and the rest of the hurricane kept going. The top part of the hurricane kept going north. So, and that happened like after it had passed by Kona, and so it kind of really lost power after that because it got chopped into. Usually, that's what happens when it's headed straight for the Big Island. When it's headed towards Kilauea, or Mauna Loa, which rises up 14,000 feet. I think Mauna Loa is 13,000 feet. Mauna Kea is 15 or 14,000 feet. But the trade wind patterns do the same thing, but they do it before it hits the island, and then it always rips the top off, and then that really messes up the hurricane. and weakens it, and usually it bounces at least part of the storm north or south of the island. So, but this one went south, and those are the dangerous ones when they curl back up north after missing the island. So, but yeah, they usually get the wind shear rips them in half, and they just dissipate after that. It just happened a little later than it usually does because it came it curled back from the south. But it's like they call it a cone of uncertainty, and so you just don't know. That's why you're prepared, and you don't have to stand in a 2-hour line to buy one bottle of water.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I know I love my water filter, and for people that are in situations like that, even something like a life straw could help them a long way. Living near the ocean, you'd have a problem with salt water. That would be a big issue. But
yeah. you can do a makeshift desalinator or distiller with just a canteen cup. You cut a hole in the bottom of a plastic bottle of water, and you put the cup on a fire, and then collect the steam in the plastic bottle, and I mean, you just put a wet rag over the plastic bottle, and then when it collects, it drips back down through the you tilt the bottle so the opening of the bottle, the water drips out of it. Well,
I saw something that was pretty ingenious, if I do say so myself, and I think that most of the people on there are complete idiots.
Naked and Afraid, or
it's on Alaskan Bush People.
I hate that show. I gave up.
I forget it, but this last time, the brother Matt, he had a tea kettle, and he took the part that flips open for you to pour out, on the spout.
Right.
That was off there. So he made a funnel out of foil and stuck the funnel inside of or not a funnel, but a long tube that's like a straw of
aluminum foil.
Yeah. And stuff that in there, and then put like some kind of Gorilla Tape or duct tape around the outside to kind of duct tape.
So he did a makeshift condensation tube out of aluminum foil instead of like copper.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, and he put that on the campfire and had that foil just curved to where the condensation would just drain right into his cup. Perfect. It worked really well.
Yeah, I like watching some of those shows like Buying Alaska. And there was another off the show on over the weekend, like Off the Grid.
Living Off Grid, where that guy takes people to see 3 different properties, and then they have a chance to stay for like 3 or 4 days. Well,
that's Buying Alaska. Now, this was a different one. This was one where they were building little homes or shelters on really remote locations. One guy built one like almost on top of a glacier. It was a little granite outcropping in the middle of a glacier in Alaska at I don't know, some ridiculous altitude. It was 7,000 feet. It was like 4,000 feet above the tree line. So if they wanted to go chop wood, they'd have to march down quite a ways to find a tree to chop. But so they had to fly in all the materials on a helicopter, and
oh yeah,
boy. And then there was but they had all these remote locations. I think one was in Colorado, a remote cabin that had been there since 1900 or 1850 or something. And
they redid it. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that show too. There's several series I like. There's one that's Off-Grid Living or something like that. That the guy takes people to look at several properties. It's not Buying Alaska. It's the guy is actually like a survivalist type person or a homesteader type person, and he takes them to see 3 different off-grid properties, and then they pick which one they want to stay in for several days, and then they decide if they wanted, to try doing this as a family, and then if they like it, then they can choose to buy one of the properties or wait for something different to come along, you know. But that's pretty interesting to see, because most of them are like city people who I mean, I live in the country and I don't live off grid, you know. I mean, we have the potential to live off grid fairly simply, you know, but we've gone without electric and stuff, big storms for over 2 weeks, you know, nearly 3 weeks and stuff. So we've had a lot of experience with that.
That would suck where I live, because I do kind of tend to rely on my air conditioning. I didn't have it once and I almost died. So, oh
yeah. So, I mean, this is in the winter. It'd be the same here. I mean, yesterday was 100 degrees. No, today was 102, I think is what my husband said.
Well, if the air conditioning didn't work inside my condo, I think it was like 140 when my air conditioning went out. And so, but not to get into that, the weird thing about where I live, it's this, first of all, it's the most remote landmass on the planet, Hawaii. I mean, you're 3,000 miles from anything. So
yeah,
but that said, like living in the middle of Kona, it's kind of would be like urban survival, because it's a city. It's not a very big city. For most people, Kona wouldn't be more than like an off-ramp with a 7-Eleven and a gas station and like a Safeway. But it's a little more than that. But being that it's so remote in the first place, it's a cross between being in the middle of nowhere and urban survival. And so I mean, if the grid went down and there wasn't any rule of law and all that shit went bad, and or there was excessive rule of law, or God knows what. I think after I watched Enter the Dragon, and to paraphrase Bruce Lee, never take your eye off the apocalypse.
Exactly.
Keep both eyes on the apocalypse.
Well, just little trial runs, kind of like the hurricane that hit, you know, that had the flooding on that one side of the island and all of the people fighting and all of that stuff. You really get a picture of how quickly things can fall apart. I mean, if something major happens, it can fall apart pretty quickly. And that's just a localized area.
Yeah, and my Hawaii is about the big one is about microclimates too. So like what's happening like 5 miles away could be a complete disaster, and well, nothing is going wrong in Kona. So but that being said, all the roads were pretty much cut. I mean, the Saddle Road was cut. So how could they deliver gasoline to the stations over here with the port in Hilo, and all the basically. When I did the was it the food email or the food video or the bug out roll video? I forget which one, but I think I listed everything that was down in the video description and the Google thing that you say what your video's about, and it's like, let's see what was down. All the airports were closed because of the crosswinds were too strong for planes to take off or land in. So the airports were shut down. People who had flights out, all the flights were canceled. Nothing could be shipped in, or I mean, the mail delivery suspended. All the seaports closed.
Yeah.
By the Coast Guard. Inter-island barge shipping had been shut down for a week. Before the storm hit, and all the inter-island barges and the U.S. Navy ships were sent north of the island to avoid the hurricane. So the Navy was out of there, the inter-island barges. So and what else? There's no mail, no inter-island shipping, no barges, no mail, no airplanes. And I think some of the banks were closed too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure a lot of businesses were closed down.
Yeah, all the schools were closed too. Like the kids were like didn't have to go to school for like 2 weeks, just driving their parents crazy. And so and that's just one hurricane.
Oh yeah.
And so sometimes I talk about prepping on my channel. It's nothing new. I don't know why anybody would be surprised. I'm shocked to hear that there's people are talking about prepping on my channel.
Well, I mean, and this is the practical reasoning for prepping. You know, I mean, a lot of people think preppers are crazy because they're putting back supplies. And here you are with a practical situation that's a practical risk for your area and perfectly good reason to put back some supplies to ensure that you're not having to get out in the chaos and that you're taken care of in this situation.
Well, I'm not. I took care of myself. I mean, I'm not relying on anybody else to do it.
Relying on the government or whoever, you know, to come in and try to swoop in and save you and give you water, and you don't have to worry about price gouging and stuff like that. You can get it whenever it's a decent price.
Yeah, the government said, the governor came on the air and said everybody should have 2 weeks worth of food. It was the first time he was right about anything. And then, ever, our governor. But then he said, yeah, if there's any price gouging, report it to the attorney general. So, okay, you know, so you're out there trying to get water and food, and you're going to try and fill out a report on your cell phone while you're waiting in a 2-hour line because the price of water is too high. I mean, you know,
you've got more important things to worry about at that moment.
Yeah, it's a lot of good the attorney general is going to do to you at that point. I mean, besides, they're too busy suing Trump over immigration crap and losing.
Oh, I know.
And all right. Well,
I'm personally glad that you had prepping as a hobby and that you had your necessities to be able to not have to get out in the mess and be able to take care of yourself and not rely on anybody and be safe.
Yeah, I got to go down in the middle of a hurricane, and I made a few YouTube videos. I went down and jumped in the pool for a little while. That's how I didn't have to worry about that other shit. You know, it was well, while all around you were panicking and you know, waiting in line for my gas tank was full. I mean, in my car. I had gone by the.
I still remember the day that I was running a center. I owned a child care center, and my husband called me, and he said, "Babe, turn on the TV." I said, "Well, we don't have TV here." And he said, "Oh yeah, well, turn on the radio." And I did, and they were talking about a plane hitting one tower, and like right after I turned that on, within 1 minute, the second plane hit the second tower, the World Trade Center. And I remember making sure when I left to fill up my vehicle because I didn't know, you know, what else was going to happen. So, and throughout the day, kept hearing about, you know, other plane crashes in the Pentagon and in Pennsylvania, and you know,
yeah,
that's kind of whenever I started prepping, you know, really thinking about it and starting it back in 2001.
That was long before I started prepping. I remember my folks were in Australia at the time attending an airline conference. My dad was representing 20th Century Fox, and I called him up at the hotel and I said, you know, turn on the TV, dude. And it's like, why? It's just like, just turn on the TV. America's not having a good day. And the airline conference was pretty much broke up after that. I think everybody knew the airline industry was about to just take a big fat dump after that. And so I remember being online trading stocks, and basically everything was frozen and all the trades were canceled. And
oh yeah,
basically I think the news ticker for flying the wall or whatever I was using said basically the World Trade Center's on fire. And then so the stock market was closed for a few days and before it reopened, and then there was a massive sell-off.
Yeah.
And,
well, I remember in 1995 sitting in my living room. We lived in Kansas at the time, and I was sitting in my living room. I was pregnant with my daughter. I had about a month left before she was due. April 19th, 1995, and turned on the news, and I was on maternity leave and saw the Murrah building bombing in Oklahoma City. And, you know, I'm from Oklahoma. We were living in Kansas at the time, but my mom and the rest of my family still lived in Oklahoma. And I remember calling my mom, telling her to turn on the TV, make sure everybody else was okay, because, you know, I was sitting there helpless in another state watching this unfold. You know, it was just crazy, just the chaos in that one isolated area, let alone, you know, larger city like New York. And, you know, when I really started hitting the prepping hard was when Obama got in office, because his policies were just so scary to me, just, you know, completely anti-beneficial to America, you know? So, yeah, that's when I really got into prepping. I started a little bit when, you know, thinking about extra food, extra supplies with the World Trade Center. But, yeah, I really started prepping heavily once Obama was in.
Yeah, and then everybody got into guns after Sandy Hook. That wasn't into them before.
Oh, yeah. Every shooting made people get into guns even more, because there kept getting threats of guns being taken away.
And not being able to buy them anymore. So they're going to ban guns. They're going to ban guns. And it's like, so.
And then the ammo, they stopped a lot of the ammo, put a lot of the ammo places out of business by regulating it even more and stuff like that. So,
well, they're
yeah,
they haven't given up. I mean, if the Democrats take back the House, they'll try again. They haven't given up on that. They're going to try and tax it to death. 50% tax on guns and ammo or something insane. That's they'll never stop trying it, the way things are. So it is sad to see America kind of that polarized, but that's the way it is. I guess America has always been polarized, but it's just I can't remember it being this bad in my lifetime. Or my dad can't remember being this bad in his lifetime, and he's 83, so that's a lot of time.
I think the last time probably this polarized was the Civil War. I mean, truthfully, and I mean, you look at it now, and they have a lot. Everybody's words have a lot more weight and meaning to them when literally their words can be heard on the internet or on the radio all around the world. You know, carries a lot more weight, and fear is contagious, and I think that's a lot of it too. And
it travels at the speed of light.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just unreal.
So yeah, that's my prepping tip for the day: is keep both eyes on the apocalypse. Don't turn your back on it.
And see, I'm a little bit different. I think keep both eyes on the Lord, but realize that God also enables you to, gives you common sense to realize that you need to help care for yourself, you know?
Yeah, and when whatever darkness passes, and hopefully goodwill among mankind will return, and even if it temporarily disappears into a dark hole, hopefully it will return and civilization will come back. If it goes away, however long it is, I don't know, but generally, in my experience, after every dark time, if you can survive it, the light returns, and so those are the times you want to live for.
Well, yeah, I think that if we didn't have dark times and sad times and hard times in our life, we wouldn't appreciate the good as much. You know what I mean? I think we see each other's strengths and our weaknesses. in the darkest and the hardest of times in our lives, and I think it brings out the best and worst in people, and you really find out what you're made of in those times. So I mean, like every cloud has a silver lining. I guess that would be the silver lining. You know, I know with Oklahoma City, with the bombing, and with the World Trade Center, with the planes crashing and all of that. Yeah, it was a horrific time, and I don't want to see anything like that ever happen again. But at the same time, you saw people coming together, praying for each other, helping each other out, and you know, you see the best and the worst in humanity. So, yeah, there's that silver lining. You know, people don't just walk by a stranger necessarily in situations like that. Some still do. Some are still focused on themselves, but others will actually leave the line and not worry about the $30 that they might lose, you know, to help somebody. Maybe few and far between, but those heroes shine in the midst of that darkness.
Well, it's not just that to us $30 isn't much, but to those people that were in line, $30 was everything, and everything is a lot, even if it's only $30.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, if $30 is everything, then everything is a lot. So
absolutely, I agree. Yep.
But hey, we had blue skies today. The sun was out. The sky was blue. It's beautiful. It's a little humid. There's still some flash flood warnings, but I think they're mostly for this island in this county. But I think that's still mostly on the other side of the island. So I hope eventually everything gets cleared up over there on the Hilo side and Hamakua.
Fitting.
Yeah, because it looked, I mean, the Bayfront Road looked pretty much underwater. The park on the ocean, it was still underwater.
That side of the island has been pretty rough anyway, because, you know, with Kilauea, and then they've had to deal with that, and now this.
Yeah, it was really funny on the Weather Channel when they pulled stock footage to show like some of the flooding that happens in a hurricane before they had the new footage, and so they showed how the neighborhoods in Kapoho being flooded, where the water comes, the water gets pushed on shore, and it's like 20 feet high, right up to like the bottom of the post and pier houses. But of course, that whole neighborhood is no longer there that they were showing anymore. It's all been destroyed.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, so all these people these homes that were showing that they had a problem with flooding, they don't exist anymore, so they don't have any more flooding problems. Also, the volcano solved the invasive coqui frog invasion
really?
by killing everything.
Well, my heart goes out to the people on that side of the island for everything they've had to go through. I mean, I cannot even imagine. I mean, I live in what looks like a high desert area. You know, we have sagebrush and sand. That's pretty much most of what we have. The only thing, I mean, we do have some cactuses too. We just don't have, we have cacti, but we don't have like the large barrel cactus and stuff for the most part. But yeah, I'd rather live here and be able to get underground from a tornado than live in an area where you can't get away from the flooding unless you go far away from your area, you know. Can't get away from the flooding or the hurricane or the, you know, whatever.
Hawaii has its advantages from a prepping standpoint too. I mean, but it's least likely to be, the Big Island is least likely to be targeted by anybody because there's nothing here. I mean, there's less here than there was before, and there wasn't much here in the first place. As far as military targets, there's just one target range base up at Paakaloa that they just use for target practice, and occasionally they do striker vehicles, so it is what it is. Hawaii's not perfect. The government's too far left for my taste, and some of the people, a lot of the people are too far left wing. I mean, like National Socialist for my taste. But it's like one of those things where it's just so beautiful. It's like I've said before. It's like dating a beautiful woman that you know the relationship can't possibly work out because you're just two different personalities or backgrounds, but she's just too beautiful to kick out of bed, you know. And that's what Hawaii's like. That's what Hawaii's like. It's a very beautiful place. And it's got every kind of environment. There's deserts, there's high snow-covered peaks with observatories, and telescope observatories, and there's cloud rainforests, black sand beaches, green sand beaches, white sand beaches, all kinds of lava rock. They've got all kinds of unusual plants and fish and animals that you wouldn't see anywhere else, and interesting culture. But I think it's just it's a very attractive kind of place. When I first got here, I think I did a backroads bicycle tour around the island, and the last night was at it used to be owned by the Ritz-Carlton. It's not anymore. The Manalani Hotel, and I think I was having after bicycling all the way around the island, I was having a glass of champagne in like one of the hot tubs in front of the ocean, and it was like I died and went to heaven. And so I wound up moving here after I shut down my studio in Burbank, and it was like I could go back and make a lot of money back in those days, which are gone as far as the money part of it. But it's a very attractive place. They've got great coffee here, and that was a good. Well, I got addicted to coffee running my business because I needed to stay awake without sleeping for ridiculous amounts of time. I mean, coffee, espresso shots, uptime pills, and we're talking in the pre-chat. Yeah, I also would keep the air conditioner in the recording studio at like 60 degrees to help me stay awake, because falling asleep would put us behind schedule. So now I still have sleep problems after all that. But who's not too surprised about that? I shouldn't be. But at the time when you're making like stupid money, it's like, you know, they don't want to hear your complaints about not being able to sleep. It's if you're making enough money, it's like, shut up, do the job, and
you're dead, man.
Exactly. You know, you have plenty of time to sleep, but not after all the films are done. You know.
Exactly. Well, on a different subject, did y'all hear that Oklahoma passed medical Mary Jane?
Well, I didn't hear that. I know that we're getting marijuana dispensaries here finally. I mean,
well, this is pretty lousy because the way the bill was written, it should have been, you know, a fairly simple process implementing it, so to speak. But no, our state health department and our Governor Mary Phelan, instead of Fallon, I'll call her Phelan, Mary Phelan, they made sure they put their grimy hands all over it, and basically they're making a list of what medical problems necessitate something like that, what would qualify for it, instead of leaving that up to your physician. And they're putting all of these crazy regulations, like they can't sell it in smokables, they can't sell it in anything that looks like candy at all. It has to be in like pill form, or I think maybe a cream. I
can't get a marijuana lollipop.
You know, and it's really sad because, like, cancer patients, seriously, if they're on chemo, they're not able to necessarily eat something because, you know, of the nausea and stuff. So smoking is one of the only ways they can really get a potent enough amount in their system. And I'm not saying it's right for every medical condition and stuff like that, but they don't want to prescribe opioids. They're getting onto the doctors for prescribing those because of the opioid addiction. So people with chronic pain are just basically told, take ibuprofen, take Tylenol, take aspirin. And that doesn't work for some people. With my neurological pain, it doesn't work. And for a long time, I was really against it. But let me tell you, after I've literally had a permanent headache for almost 30 years now. So, you know, after a while, after you go through pain that long, chronic pain, your views can change. And my opinions definitely have over the years. So
well, I think the problem in Hawaii has been that doctors from the mainland will come out and pay for their trip by writing prescriptions to anybody who want one, and and they would just, so anybody could get a medical marijuana card and get a prescription from like vacationing doctors who just wanted to pay for their vacation. And
let me tell you, because the state came in and pulled this crap, excuse me, but they pulled some major crap with this. And
you're allowed to cuss on my show, just so you know. You're allowed to cuss on my show.
Well, making it whatever they want it to be instead of the way it was worded in the law. So what's happening is that people that wasn't for recreational now to the point where they're just going to vote recreational because they're tired of the government trying to put their hands in everything. Like they're wanting to tax it so much, like you said, on a 50% tax, kind of like that. They're wanting to tax it like crazy. They're wanting to make it almost impossible to get the license to distribute it. And one of their requirements was that they have a full-time pharmacist on duty at all times at those dispensaries. Well, you're talking $100,000 and something, almost $200,000 a year. Those places aren't going to be able to afford to do that.
Yeah, well, what happened in Hawaii is the state senator, who basically his staff had taken my name off the temple mailing list because I didn't like his left-wing agenda. And when I joined this temple, local temple, they took me off the mailing list because he started sending me, they took my name off the mailing list and added it to their political mailing list. And he started sending me political emails, and I'm like, you know, you're way too left-wing for me. I don't like your political. Please stop sending me emails and take me off your I meant the political email, so they took me off the temple list. They took me off the political email list. And so then he gets elected. So basically what happened is he used to be an emergency room doctor. And so the corporations that wanted to make a profit by running marijuana dispensaries, they donated like $7 million to his political campaign to run for, I think he's now, I don't know, they're going to be the lieutenant governor. So to put, when he was state senator, to put forward a law so that basically how it works in Hawaii now is because they used to have, they handed out a card, a blue card or whatever they call it, so where you could, like, if you had this medical marijuana prescription card, you could grow like 2 plants, or that had to be a certain size, or I don't know what the deals were. But and the problem was that people that had a medical marijuana card and prescription, there was no dispensaries. So what they did was, the state did, so it's like they're going to issue 3 licenses in the state to companies to run medical marijuana, and in order to qualify to get this permit to run a marijuana dispensary, you have to pay the state like $3 million a year in permit fees for the permit to do that. So you're talking major corporations that are looking to make a lot of money, right? And this is something that people can grow in their backyard for free, basically. Except if you do that, the federal the Green Harvest program, they fly over with satellites and look for the infrared signatures of marijuana plants, and they will rappel from a helicopter down to your backyard, cut down all the plants, and burn them down. But if you pay for a license, $3 million a year, then you can get a permit to do this. So, people who supported this are all the recreational users, not people who need it for medical reasons. But anyway, so now this jackass who's also a gun grabber is like the lieutenant governor, and I'm not going to say anything else bad about him because I don't want like the state police showing up at my door, but I don't like the guy.
Yeah.
I'll just say that I don't like him, and I don't like his policies. And but hey, that's the kind of people that are in this state, the very far left wing people. Josh Green said that basically homelessness should be counted as a medical condition because he wants to spend Medicaid money that should go to sick people just to give to homeless people to get them off the street. So I guess all these people are going to have their own. And I did a story about the tunnels, about the homeless girl who's basically, instead of like she had a free ticket to enter a modeling contest in Spain because the people running the contest thought she was that striking of a, but she would rather instead of she blew that off and would rather spend the time doing oxycodone and heroin in like the tunnels homeless camp in the tunnels, the drainage tunnels underneath the main highway in Kona. So these are decisions that people make. That's why they're homeless. It's not the state's fault, but the state has to we have to use our money to give to these people. And if they want marijuana prescriptions, that the state's gonna have to pay for that too, because homelessness is a medical condition.
It's just enabling those people is what it's doing, and I can say that from experience because I have somebody I love very much, my own son, who has an addiction and is homeless. So I can say that I love him very much, but I can also say that handing him money or giving him handouts for anything is just enabling him,
Yeah, well, eventually the problem is the state is giving out other people's money to these people. It's like taxpayer money, and so the problem with socialism is you always eventually you run out of other people's money to give away.
Yep, and then you end up looking like Ukraine, the video of the old lady trying to find some meat that was decent in the grocery store, and all there is rotten meat. And she's trying to pick from the least rotten of all the rotten meat, Because that's what ends up happening. The state ends up breaking.
Yeah, or Venezuela is like the worst case scenario of what socialism can do to a country.
Yeah. Well, I hate to get off of here, but I'm going to have to.
Yeah, we need to give Patrick a chance to talk anyway. We need to get back on our.
I'm so sorry, Patrick.
All right. I was going to just say I've got to get off too and get ready for bed. I'm going to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 4:30.
Oh. Slackers, you're bailing on me. Okay, we'll call this.
Oh no, man. Hey, man, it's not 6 o'clock in the evening like it is over there.
Yeah, it's 6:36 p.m. in Hawaii, so it's still early, but I understand.
It's 11:36 here. I don't know what time it is where Patrick lives.
Oh, I'm in Texas. That's the same time.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, it's late at night here.
Well, I'll have rebuttal next week on whatever our subject was supposed to be this week, and
I'm sorry. I just totally blew your cat out of the water this week, didn't I?
It doesn't matter. It was like the whole topic was like one of those things that's been that must be have been 10,000 chats on gun channels of like AK versus R or 7.62 versus 5.56. So I just refer everybody to one of the previous gun channel chats on the topic.
There you go.
At least I got my gun trivia question in. Did you think that was a good trivia question, Pat?
Oh yeah.
It was.
Yeah, 'cause I'm gonna have to look that. Like I said, I'm gonna have to look that round up, that bullet.
Picket bullets, yeah. All right. So we're gonna call this a show because the helicopters that we have to go. We have to get to the chopper. Where's my helicopter sound effect? Wait a minute. Let me play that.
It's your music, Mom.
Yeah, helicopter. Well, it's not music, but
Your chopper's waiting for you.
Yeah, it's time for us to get to the chopper. So we'll see you all next week, folks.
Good to see everybody.
Keep
Bye.
on,
Love
keep
y'all.
on prepping.
Yep. We'll see you later.